What is going on, guys? Welcome to your 43rd HTML5 tutorial, and in this lesson I'm going to be teaching you guys about animation on the canvas. Now, you can use animation for a lot of different things, but my guess is that most of you guys are most interested in games. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to move your mouse around and how to animate your canvas so shapes or anything can follow along with the mouse. But if you want to make a game, you can just make it animate on its own through a timer or a lot of different things. But the easiest way I can demonstrate animation is just to follow the mouse cursor around, and that's the basics. Once you get the basics of animation and how it works, then really everything else is just up to you. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add an event listener. Basically, every time we move this mouse even a little bit, we want to have a function that gets called. So let me just go ahead and copy this, and it stays on the window because that's the same thing. The only thing that's different is this load, change it to mouse move. And this do first is this function, so we don't want that. Just make another function, call it Bucky if you want. That sounds like a good name. So basically what we're saying is every time the user moves the mouse, this function Bucky gets called. So I guess it would probably be a good idea to build this function Bucky. So function, oh, got a frog in my throat here, Bucky E. Now this parameter E we passed in, that's the event. Basically that's, how can I explain this? The object, oh, not the object, come on. Whenever the mouse moves, all the information is stored in the variable E. That was a pretty good explanation, actually. So now the first thing we want to do is whenever we begin an animation, we want to make sure we're working with a blank canvas. So canvas clear rect. Now what this does is basically takes a shape as a parameter and it clears all the pixels in it. So basically what we want to do is clear our entire canvas. So start at 0, 0, and our canvas size, or mine at least, is 600 by 400. So 600 by 400. Basically make a rectangle that is completely covers your canvas and clear it each time. That's the first thing we need to do. The next thing we need to do is we need to get the X position and the Y position of where your mouse is on the screen. So if it was up here, it would be at 0, 0. If it was like right here, it would be at 100, 300. So we need to get that information, and then with that information, we're going to tell the shape where to draw. So go ahead and make a variable, just call it like X position or X pos, and the information, like I said, is stored in that variable E, and it's actually called client X. So what this is basically the horizontal coordinates of the mouse event. So if your mouse was at like 100, 300, then the value of X position would be 100. If it was over here, it would be 200, 300. So now that we have the X value of where the mouse is, we need to get the Y position of the mouse. So let's change your variable and put E client Y. So as you can see, all of the information of that mouse movement or that mouse event is stored in the variable E. So we just go ahead and use that variable, which is technically an object, and pull some data from it and store it in variables. So now if our mouse was at 100, 200, 100 would be X position and 200 would be Y position. And why do we need that information? Well, we need it right now because we're going to draw a rectangle, and what we want to do is we want the rectangle to draw wherever the mouse is. So canvas, and remember how to draw rectangles, fill rect, and the first two things you write is basically where on the screen do you want to draw it. Well, instead of 0, 0 like I think we did before, just put X pos and Y pos. So now that we have the coordinates of where the mouse is and we're telling the canvas to draw a rectangle right there, we need to say, okay, but how big do you want that rectangle? Well, let's just go ahead and make it a simple square, 100 by 100. So let's go ahead and save this and see if I messed up at all. Now check it out. Nothing's happening right now because it waits until I move my mouse over this white part. Now once I do, check it out. A square now follows me around. And even though you think of animation as kind of things moving on their own and you just watching like a movie, this is actually even more advanced animation from that. If you wanted to do that, instead of just having, moving a mouse around, you would just put a timer like in, I don't know, maybe change this Y position every to increase it by 10 pixels every second or something. And when you do that, it would just move 10 pixels every 10 seconds. But anyways, this is typically the animation style that you use for games. And if you're saying, okay, one thing is kind of annoying about this, that my mouse isn't in the center of the square, and that's kind of bugging me. It's always stuck in the top left. Well, in order to do that, all you need to do is put X position minus 50 and Y position minus 50. This is going to move the square up 50 pixels and left 50 pixels, and it's going to pop your mouse right in the middle. So let me go ahead and refresh that and check it out. So if you're ever having trouble with a game or something, then that is how you do it. Just shift the shape or the image up until it centers the mouse, and it's always half of the size. So another thing that you may notice is you're saying, okay, Bucky, I understand all this stuff, but why do you need to clear the canvas? That doesn't really make sense. Well, you need to clear because if you didn't clear every time, this square right here, it would draw over and over and it would never get erased. It would kind of look like a drawing program or paint program. So let me go ahead and actually just comment this out. Actually, I would just go ahead and cut it for now. And check out what happens whenever we don't clear it. As you can see, we get like a drawing program. So, if you weren't making in the game and you wanted to make a drawing program like Photoshop or Paint, then you could do it this way. Pretty cool. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, a lot of you guys are probably looking forward to building games with HTML5, and a lot of you probably didn't even know that you could build games with HTML5, but it's one of the awesome things. You can do so many things with it. It can replace Flash and Java, and this is like a whole nother world of possibilities, this canvas. But typically, like I said, you want to make sure you clear your rectangles and clear your canvas before you start some crazy animations. So for now, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.